My name is Elias Hawthorne, and at 87 years old, I've got stories that could fill a library and then some. I'm just an old man from Willowbrook, Vermont, a speck of a town with 4,832 souls, where the general store still sells nickel candy and folks wave from their porches. I live in a blue Victorian house on Elm Street, built by my grandfather Silas in 1892. It's paint-chipped but proud, with stained-glass windows casting rainbows on oak floors worn smooth by time. Out back, my garden, tomatoes, zucchini, rosemary, is my sanctuary, tended with gnarled hands that once fixed radios, then TVs, then computers. These days, I narrate tales for my YouTube channel, Tales from the Rocking Chair, sipping black coffee, no sugar, and reflecting on a life of love, loss, and lessons learned the hard way. This story's about my son, Robert, and a Christmas that turned our world upside down. It's called My Son Said I Wasn't Welcome for Christmas, So I Stopped Paying His Mortgage. Grab a warm drink, folks, and settle in. This one's a long haul, just like a Vermont winter. Willowbrook's the kind of place where time moves slow, like sap in February. The air smells of pine and wood smoke, and the green mountains loom like old friends. My house creaks with every step, its wraparound porch my evening perch, where I watch the sun dip behind snow-dusted peaks. Inside, the parlor's a museum of memories, a mantel lined with photos, my late wife, Martha, in her 1950 wedding dress, her smile brighter than a summer noon. Our 3 kids, Robert, Sarah, and Thomas, muddy-kneed from creek adventures, and my grandkids, Lily and Max, who I don't see near enough. Mornings start at dawn, coffee brewing in a pot older than most of you watching. I shuffle to the garden, arthritis nagging my knees, and coax tomatoes to ripen, whispering to them like Martha used to. Afternoons, I'd tinker in the garage, clocks, old radios, anything to keep my hands busy. Evenings, I record these stories, my voice gravelly but steady, for folks who find comfort in an old man's tales. The town knows me. Mrs. Jenkins from church brings casseroles, and the postman lingers to chat. But loneliness creeps in, a quiet guest I never invited. Robert, my firstborn, came into the world in 1965, when Lyndon Johnson was president, and the Beatles were everywhere. He was a curious boy, always at my side in Hawthorne's Electronics, my shop downtown. At 10, he'd solder circuits, his small hands steady, eyes bright. "Dad, I'm going to invent something big," he'd declare, and I'd ruffle his hair, believing him. We'd fish in Willow Creek, the water cold and clear, trout dancing under the surface. One summer, he caught a fish bigger than his arm, whooping so loud it echoed off the hills. Weekends, we'd camp in the Green Mountains, just us, a tent, and stars brighter than city lights. But teens brought storms. By 16, Robert was sneaking out, arguing about curfews, calling me old-fashioned. I'd lie awake, Martha's hand on mine, praying he'd find his way. He did, sort of. College on a scholarship I scraped together, studying finance at Boston University. He left in '83, angry at my rules, but called home a week later, voice small, homesick. I drove up, bought him dinner, saw the boy I loved beneath the bravado. Martha was my North Star, married in '50 after I came back from Korea, scarred but whole. She had a laugh like bells, eyes that saw through my gruffness. We built a life here, raised 3 kids, ran the shop, danced in the parlor to Sinatra on the old record player. She loved the garden, taught me how to grow rosemary, for remembrance, she'd say. Cancer took her in 2005, slow and cruel. I sat by her hospital bed, holding her hand, promising to look after the kids. After she passed, the house felt hollow, but her quilt on our bed, her recipes in the kitchen, kept her close. Robert was there at the funeral, promising to visit more. He didn't. Life pulled him away. Boston, a new wife, kids of his own. I understood, but it hurt. In 2010, Robert and Claire wanted a McMansion in suburban Boston. 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, a pool that cost a fortune to heat, a movie theater for movies I'd never watch. The down payment was $150,000, but their credit was shot after Robert's bad investments during the '08 crash. "Dad, just once this time," he said over the phone, voice smooth like when he wanted a new bike as a kid. I thought of Martha, her belief in family. I didn't hand over cash. I'm not that foolish. I co-signed a mortgage, paid the $150,000 from my savings, money from selling the shop, and set up direct payments, $1,200 a month from my pension. A quiet title deed listed me as co-owner to protect my investment. By 2024, I'd paid $280,000, principal, interest, taxes. Robert sent checks, $500 here and there, but they were drops in a bucket. I kept ledgers, old habit from the shop. 3/15/2010, $1,200. 4/15/2010, $1,200. Pages of numbers, proof of my sacrifice. Holidays were my lifeline. Martha's pecan pie with a splash of bourbon was legend in Willowbrook. I'd string lights on the porch, their glow fighting the December dark, and wrap gifts. Books for Lily, now 26, and a teacher. Tools for Max, 22, studying engineering. In November, I called Robert. "I'll drive down, bring the pie, maybe tell the kids some stories." His voice was distant. "Dad, Claire's got work parties. The kids are busy. Maybe next time." I pressed, but he dodged. Early December, the call that broke me. "Dad, we weren't expecting you. We want a quiet Christmas, just us, new traditions." Not expecting me? After I'd paid for the roof over their heads? I hung up, hands shaking, staring at a photo of Robert, age 10, grinning with a fishing pole. That boy was gone, replaced by a man who saw me as a burden. Sleep fled that night. I paced the porch, Martha's quilt around my shoulders, the cold biting my bones. Memories flooded. Robert's first bike, assembled Christmas Eve, teaching him to drive in the old Ford. His wedding, my toast about family being forever. By dawn, resolve hardened. I called Mr. Hargrove, my lawyer since '82, a man with a mustache like a broom and eyes sharp as tacks. His office downtown smelled of pipe tobacco and old paper, walls lined with law books and a Harvard diploma. "Elias, what's wrong?" I told him, voice steady but heart pounding. He pulled the mortgage docs, explained my rights. "You can stop payments. It'll flag as delinquent, start late fees, risk foreclosure if they don't cover." I nodded. "Send the notice. Cancel December's payment." Hargrove hesitated. "This is family, Elias. Family don't shut you out," I said. I signed, hands steady. I decorated anyway. Lights twinkling, tree adorned with ornaments from '60s Christmases, each a memory. The star Martha made, the baubles the kids painted. I baked the pie, its bourbon scent filling the empty house. Alone, I watched It's a Wonderful Life, George Bailey's Sacrifices hitting close. I wrote letters, unsent, to Robert, Claire, Lily, Max, pouring out hurt. The house creaked, wind howling outside. I sipped eggnog, remembering Martha's carols, the kids' excitement ripping into gifts. Loneliness wasn't new, but this cut deeper, a wound I hadn't expected at my age. I wandered the house, touching photos, the quilt, her old recipe book. The clock struck midnight, Christmas Day dawning without cheer. At 7:45 p.m., the phone rang. Robert's voice shaken. "Dad, the bank called. The payment bounced. They're threatening fees. What's going on?" I leaned back in my armchair, the fire crackling. "You said you weren't expecting me, so I figured you weren't expecting my money either. I've paid $280,000 for your house, Robert. Time you take over." He exploded. Words about betrayal, the kids' home, Claire's stress. "How could you do this? It's Christmas." I stayed calm. You chose space, son. Now choose responsibility. Silence stretched, then a click. I sat, heart heavy but unyielding, knowing I'd done right. Christmas morning, snow blanketed Willowbrook, the world silent and white. I sipped coffee by the fire, the pie untouched, when the doorbell rang. Robert stood there, disheveled, Claire wrapped in a coat, Lily and Max wide-eyed. "Dad, we drove all night," Robert said, voice breaking. "We're sorry." Claire admitted pushing for a quiet Christmas, fearing family chaos reminded her of her own parents' passing. Lily hugged me, whispering, "We missed you, Grandpa." Max said he wanted to hear my stories. We talked, hours of tears, apologies. Robert confessed work consumed him, made him forget family. I shared my loneliness, the weight of those payments. We agreed they'd pay the mortgage fully, repay me $300 monthly. It wasn't just money, it was respect. We ate pie, laughed, the house alive again. Lily read from her favorite book. Max tinkered with my old radio. It felt like Christmas again. By 2025, our bond grew stronger. Robert's family visits monthly, Lily calls weekly, Max helps in the garden. The mortgage payments come from them now, on time. Mrs. Jenkins, my neighbor, heard the story and baked me a peach cobbler, saying, "You taught 'em, Elias." Church potlucks buzzed with the tale. Folks admired my stand. I'm not rich, but I'm wealthy in what matters. The ledgers sit closed, a reminder of lessons learned. Korea in '51 shaped me. Night patrols, the cold biting through my boots, comrades lost, those memories taught me resilience. Back home, I built Hawthorne's electronics from a shed to a storefront, teaching Robert circuits, pride swelling when he fixed a radio. Those days grounded us until ambition pulled him away. At 87, I know time's short. Aging's a thief, steals your knees, your sleep, but not your heart. Family's not about what you expect, it's what you give. Robert learned that, and so did I. I record these stories for you, hoping you'll hold your loved ones close. Subscribe, folks, for more tales from this old man's life.